and you got a hold of me. And I laughed. And I told my husband, and I laughed some more. And it was actually him that really stood behind me and, said, listen, this is the time to do it if you're going to do it.
This is the Main Street Reimagined podcast, a show for people ready to turn visions into realities and ideas into businesses. Hey, I'm Luke Henry, and each week I lead conversations with Main Street dreamers who took the leap to launch a business, renovate a building, or start a movement. Their ideas, their mindsets, and their inspirations, as well as some of the highs and lows along the way. This is a place for dreamers, creators, developers, and entrepreneurs to learn, share, and be inspired to change your community through small business. Enjoy the show. Hey friends, Luke Henry here. This is the Main Street Reimagined podcast, and we are so glad to have you once again listening in. Thanks so much for those of you who are sharing with your friends, listening consistently, giving your feedback. Really, really appreciate it. I know I'm having a lot of fun having these conversations with local entrepreneurs and doers and dreamers, and hopefully they're inspiring you. You're learning some things, and again, you're able to resonate and maybe share this with somebody else. So today, I am very excited here in episode 8 to have with me Gretchen Jolliff. Good morning.
Good morning.
Gretchen.
Good morning.
Thanks so much for being here in studio. Excited for this conversation. Gretchen has a great story, and I'm really excited to share it with everyone. She is another individual that I was able to rope in and help to take the leap into a new venture. And she has Days Gone By photography studio in Downtown Marion, right on South Main Street. And so just tell us a little bit, Gretchen. We'll get into your full story, but just a little bit of a flyover in terms of what kind of photography you do, a little bit more about your studio here in Downtown Marion.
So I am obviously, I can do photography for seniors in high school. Those are probably one of my favorites. Family. I'm starting to kind of dabble into newborn lifestyle photography again. And I do a little bit of like boudoir sessions. The studio kind of lends its way for that. And pretty much anything, headshots, anything, that you would want in photography. The studio is open to other photographers as well to rent out. So I have lots of space in there, different setups that other photographers can use for any kind of photography that they want to do.
Yeah, so it's a great space. So it's on the second floor, and this is a building that we renovated. And all along when we were renovating this building, I dreamed of it just being a photography studio. It just seemed like that's what it should be.
Perfect space.
It's got the exposed brick, beautiful hardwood floors that we found under layers and layers of stuff. These just giant windows. I think they're 11 feet tall and huge, and so cool. And then the like arched pocket doors, and all of those are just so cool. It was not the first iteration. We ended up leasing it out as a real estate office because you didn't find anyone initially to use it as a photography studio. But then when they transitioned to another space, I was putting the word out to just a very few photographers that I knew and respected, and you were on the list, and you came and looked and took the leap.
I did take the leap. It was a little bit of a push there, but we definitely decided to go ahead and do that.
Yeah, it was so exciting. You were very, as I recall, like just very open with your thought process, and we kind of processed it together. And, we joke about it. I hope I didn't push you off the diving board too much. I think it was a voluntary leap, but it was fun to just, hear you process like this. Well, I've been doing this and I've had this dream, but gosh, it would be a pretty big step. And here's some challenges. And, so, from listening to prior episodes, this leap segment is something that I really like to talk about. And so, I mean, let's jump right into it here. Do you remember that vividly as well? Like your thought process and how you were thinking through and what fears you were overcoming and how you ultimately decided to take the leap?
Well, I remember a post that you had posted about ideas and what people would look for in a photography studio. And I just had all these thoughts. And I remember like being very descriptive, like this would be great, because at that time I was also renting out places and trying to find places that I could do my own photography. And so I was very specific in my thoughts to you, I remember, on that post as to what, I feel like other photographers that would rent a studio space would like to have in there. And a lot of it was like the natural lighting, the exposed brick, all of those things, so that you wouldn't have to have a lot of extra props per se. And you got a hold of me, and I laughed. And I told my husband, and I laughed some more. And it was actually him that really stood behind me and, said, listen, this is the time to do it if you're going to do it. I had actually, I'm a second grade teacher, and I had actually thought about going back to school to get, which a lot of people don't know this, to get my administrative license. And my husband was like, okay, I think it's probably time in your life to make a choice. You've always wanted to go into photography a little bit more. This is, a dream that you've always had that we didn't know if we could make it a reality. And so let's sit down and make a choice. Like, what do you think you want to do? And photography has always been an outlet to me. It started 20 years ago, but it's really become something that I just absolutely love doing. Like I said, it's kind of an outlet for little different stressors in life to me. And so knowing that my husband, Kevin, was so supportive and behind me that he wanted to do it was what really, made me want to say, okay, let's do this.
Yeah. Yeah. That's incredible. Yeah. I didn't know that was ultimately kind of the little bit of a push you needed to do. 'Cause I think sometimes we don't give ourselves complete permission until we have sort of that. Maybe it's external validation. Maybe it's just, that it's going to be a strain on the family,
Absolutely.
with time and maybe with money as you're getting it launched. And so, what did having that support mean to you in that moment?
Well, I knew that I had to have that. A little background on my story. I started photography with just shooting my best friend's little baby newborn on a couch with a white sheet over, and just kind of posing him. I worked at the police department here in Marion back then. I was going back to school to get my teaching license, so I dabbled in it quite a bit, always kind of renting out other places, anywhere that I could get it. We even lived in an apartment complex, and I rented out the clubhouse to set up a backdrop and, do photography. So anyway, Kevin had known since we had been together that this was always kind of a dream for me. However, after we got married, we got pregnant and found out that our son had a lot of medical issues, and that, there was a good chance that we would be kind of, it could either go either way, bad or good, honestly. And so I kind of had to take a step back from photography for a little while. He was born. He was in Children's Hospital for over 2 years. So we commuted. We lived at the Ronald McDonald House. And so I did take a huge step back from photography, and he required a lot of extra things. And besides being a teacher, I had to now become his nurse and physical therapist and, respiratory therapist, all those things. So he's now doing very well. And so, even though he takes up and occupies quite a bit of our time, which is fine, obviously, but it was a good time to make this leap. It was very scary. It was going to be a time-consuming process, kind of like. So I needed to make sure that I had Kevin on board with that because, he is, my right hand and very, very supportive. Like I said, if it wasn't for him, I don't know if I would have really made that leap. And he was like, let's do this. So it obviously made me feel good to know that he had enough confidence in me to make this work and make this dream become kind of a reality.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And I appreciate you bringing up about your son, Cayden. And I followed along that journey all along. How old is Cayden now?
He's 9.
9 years old. That's unbelievable. And so, I knew of him and that journey really, I guess, because your mother-in-law and my mother-in-law are friends.
Yes.
And so,
Yes.
That was where we got updates. And in reality, I don't think a lot of people expected Cayden to be around 9 years later. Is that right?
That is correct. So, we were told that basically we could go into the hospital and there was a really good chance that he wasn't going to make it. So, I remember the night before just kind of thinking, okay, well, we're going to pack our bags here and, we could be here for the long haul and maybe we wouldn't be here for the long haul. And it was scary. It was obviously, the scariest time of our lives, but he's such a miracle and he's really made an impact in people's lives, and people that do follow him can see, he's an absolute hoot and he lives a real normal life. And, that's what lets us be able to also lead somewhat of a normal life. Normal, our normal, I should say. But he's doing great. He's going to be in 3rd grade next week, and he's our joy for sure.
Yeah, that's so awesome. So, let's talk a little bit about what you learned about yourself through that process. What kind of personal growth journey did you go through as you saw? It's such a journey, not knowing day to day what was going to happen, what the long-term outcome was going to be with his health and even his survival at some points in that journey. What did you learn about yourself? How did you do it?
Well, a lot of it I attribute to my faith. And I know that I couldn't have got through that without having so much faith. There was lots of up and downs in that over 2 years in the hospital. There was quite a few times when I'd receive a phone call in the middle of the night, and thank God that we had the Ronald McDonald House there, because I would literally run across the street. I remember counting the steps at one point because something was happening bad with him. And he gave us a lot of scares back in a lot of times. But the other thing I learned was, I'm definitely stronger than I think. They kind of kid in the hospital that a lot of parents get something called NICU-itis, and where, parents kind of, for lack of a better term, start to go a little bit crazy because they're sitting there all day long. And, I promised myself no matter what, I would never be that parent. And I think I did a fairly good job. We still talked to quite a few of the nurses that were his primaries there at Children's, and they they commend me for never losing my brain too much there. But the other thing is a lot of families kind of fall apart when they are at, with all that stress. And I can honestly say that Kevin and I, it really brought us together even more. Sharing those strengths in the struggles, and we came out of it strong. I mean, I would never wish it upon anyone.
Sure.
But like, I don't know. I can't imagine, I don't know. It sounds weird, but I can't imagine not going through it because, like I said, I mean, we came through it even stronger than we were. We were only married a year after, or when we had Cayden.
Wow.
But, spending all that time together and, we became quite foodies in Columbus because we had to, eat a lot out and things like that. But anyway, so I really found my strength, and I look back at those times and I thought, man, I don't know how I got through it. And, sometimes I think our brains kind of forget the really bad things. I mean, I don't forget them, but I find the good that has come out of all of that instead of all the negative, scary things. And I know, like I said, with my faith that I was very protected in getting the NICU-itis and, all the scary things I seem to bounce back from because I watched Cayden. He, there was a morning when he actually coded. It was Christmas morning. And I remember him bouncing back like within an hour. And I thought, okay, like this kid is so strong. Like if he can bounce back from this, I'm okay, and he was fine. I mean, crazy. So finding that strength and knowing that I'm stronger than I give myself credit for sometimes.
Yeah. What a story, Gretchen. I've certainly seen what you're describing in terms of when people go through hardships, particularly your closest relationships are either unexplainably strengthened or you are, kind of driven apart. Yeah. And so, I mean, it's obviously beautiful that you and Kevin were able to go the right way with that and found so much inspiration, not just from your faith, but also through watching your son battle and battle back and battle back and battle back, and just being able to rally yourself as well to say, if he can do it, we can do it, I can do it. And who that's made you become. I've seen that in others. And I think all of us, if we're honest, we would look back and have to admit that the easy times of life, the good times of life, that's not what made us who we are. It's been the challenges, it's been the struggles. And we have this thing where we avoid the struggles because they're hard. We don't want to go do the hard things typically, but that's actually what creates all the growth and all the character and all of the stories that are able to then help other people.
Absolutely. And I can't also like to add in like our core support group, went from we actually started a little bit of a Facebook group just to kind of update because, when you're in the hospital, you don't want to answer 50,000 texts all the time.
Yes.
And it grew to 3,000 people to watch Cayden's journey. And, without that support group also just growing, it was crazy to watch people.
And the T-shirts and the prayers. And I mean, all of that,
all
right?
Of that. All of that got us through that time for sure. And still continue to. I mean, we still update every single day. It may be just a picture, but, there's little older women that say, I just can't go to sleep without seeing, Cayden's picture, and that still makes me good. That's 9 years later,
Yes.
So we continue to do it.
Wow, what an inspiration. Yeah, I didn't know that was still going on.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it really seems like having went through that and you were, 6 or 7 years into that journey, at the time when we started having this conversation about the photography studio and really kind of taking a leap into a brick and mortar and kind of doubling down on that business, that almost didn't seem like nearly as big a deal as what it maybe would have, right? I mean, in reality, I think that once you've been through some of these struggles and challenges, I mean, do you think it reframed kind of your perception of what's hard and what's, going to be unovercomable?
Yeah, I definitely think that, the struggles build the strengths. You know, it was quite a leap. Business is not my background, and I kind of, relied on Kevin a lot to kind of help me with that startup, that business, and two brains together trying to do that. So that was really the nerve-wracking thing. I love photography. As I said previously, it's an outlet for me, to kind of just get creative. And the business side of the situation was probably the hardest, trying to get all that up and, putting money into something when you're just, a middle-class family is rough. It's hard, but, in the end, obviously you hope to make, a profit. And I mean, honestly, a lot of, I talk about my photography, but a lot of the studio is about bringing other photographers in. I want to be a big supporter of the starting out photographers and people that maybe don't have that studio space like I didn't, and having to rent just not a very good space. And so I'm really excited, and that was my excitement, was to be able to help those other photographers come in and find a space for themselves too, and make it kind of their own as well.
Yeah. I love that. And I mean, have you found that to be the case?
Yeah. I think one of the challenges is trying to get the word out around, that, hey, this isn't just my spot. This isn't just Days Gone By. Yes, it shares the name as the photography business, but it's a studio. It's for, people to come in and, like I said, make it their own little area. I offer, they're able to use anything that they want in the studio. And I have found that I have quite a few returning customers. I would like to, try to bring in some more people from out of town. I feel like, our studio can compete, in I say Little Town Marion, but like to any of the studios, in the bigger cities.
Yeah. And so let's talk a little bit about what all you have there. So it's a few different rooms, and
Yes.
you've got drops. I mean, tell us a little more about all that stuff.
So the main room is kind of considered, it's actually two different rooms. So in the main room is where those 11-foot windows are, and the natural lighting that comes through those is just phenomenal. I mean, that was definitely a seller right there.
Yeah.
So I kind of have it set up on one side as almost like a home. There's a fireplace and an old Victorian couch in there, and I have what they call an egg chair that's kind of, I decorate it based on the seasons, kind of with flowers and things like that. And then on the other side of the wall is where we have just plain backdrops. So photographers are able to use any of the backdrops that I have. There is plain paper, which is kind of a thing now, I would say. So I have different colors of the plain backdrop paper there that they can put up. So on that side, and then you walk through those awesome doors, and there is a bed set up, and we do a lot of family, or at Christmas, people dress up in their PJs and get pictures, kind of cuddling and reading Christmas stories and things like that. And everything is set up seasonally. So for every season or holiday, I will set it up differently just to have a little bit of, different things going on there. And then in the second room, I have another backdrop stand where people can set up anything. And then it's also an area where they can do newborn photos.
Okay.
With newborn photography, you need it to be very warm, obviously. Yes. So that room's kind of confined in so that it creates that warmth a little bit. Then there's a third room that's absolutely filled to the ceiling with different props. There is a changing area in the back that has more props. There's a bathroom, a changing table for newborns and those babies in the bathroom. And so I just, I try to make it as easy for photographers to be able to shoot there as possible.
Yeah, it really is, I think, an ideal setup. And you've outfitted it just perfectly. I mean, to be able to have the bathroom right there that's private to the studio, is not shared with like any other businesses or anything. And then that like newborn room, like you said, is its own room. It has its own heating and cooling, yes. So it can be temperature controlled to literally whatever degree you want. And so that is super handy and something you're not going to find very many places, I can't imagine. And then places where if someone wants to do natural light photography, they can. And then there's also the other rooms where it's not any natural light, so it can be totally changed how Absolutely. They like it, right?
Yeah, with any kind of studio lighting or whatnot.
Yeah. So I mean, it seems like such a great setup. So, and then you've utilized it also for different like mini sessions, right? And so that's been kind of a tie-in with some of the downtown events and some of that. Tell us a little bit about that. That seems like that's been fun.
It has been something that I wanted to kind of start, and I have to say that our Downtown Marion community is such a close-knit helping community. The businesses, the nonprofits, everybody kind of just comes together. They collaborate, and it's fun. I really enjoy the meetings. I can't go to all of them, but I really enjoy just everybody's brains working and coming up with all these ideas. And so one of the ideas that I had come up with and kind of ran past them was these drop-in sessions. It's not something that a lot of other photographers do. I wanted to do a little something different. So I tried to collaborate or, kind of schedule things with Second Saturdays in Downtown Marion. And I'll have different drop-in sessions. So I've done, I think my first one was like a mommy and me. People could come in. I had a 2-hour block. People could just drop in, get a couple of digital images. I send them a link right to their email. They can download them. And I've done back to school. I've done Santa, Easter Bunny, and the Monster March downtown. They can come up and, wear their costumes and get pictures of their kiddos in costumes and things like that. And it's been, it's growing. It's kind of fun because, you could go to a mall or something like that and get the pictures. But, especially with the Santa and the Easter Bunny, I have found that those are my two biggest ones. And, with the Santa, it's kind of cool having the, fireplace backdrop. It's a little bit more homey than going to a mall and getting, right. The typical pictures. And, there was nowhere around to do really, portrait kind of style Easter Bunny photos. So that was a big one too. And It's just quick and easy, especially if you have some kids that don't love to sit through, a huge session or whatever. Right. You can get in, get out of there and, no appointment, you just drop in and it's really fun to do those. I really enjoy those.
Yeah. It sounds like a lot of fun and really just photography in general. I mean, just seems like one of those businesses where, yes, it's hard. Yes, it's business. Yes, it's stressful sometimes, trying to do all the businessy things. But in the essence of it, when you're doing it, you're capturing people with smiles on their faces and giving them such a gift with this memory that you've literally captured and like cemented in time for them to keep forever.
Yeah, it is creating the memories for other people. I completely agree with that. Just, you know, people, I don't know, just for myself, that love language of words of affirmation, just finding that joy, and people saying, like I had a family the other day that they surprised their father with these pictures of the kids and this old tractor.
Wow.
And they surprised the dad and grandpa with these photos, and he was just overjoyed because that was his history, and just hearing how excited he was that they gave them, or that, she had given these pictures to him as a gift. And, I was responsible for that. So,
Yeah, that's so cool.
yeah, just hearing that how much they loved them.
Yeah, yeah. That's awesome. So we've talked a lot about your journey, the kind of the reason behind the studio, which I love, the way that you're able to connect it with the downtown, the way you're connecting with other photographers. So cool. I like to talk a little bit about, you kind of mentioned like the businessy side has been more of the challenge, and you've relied on Kevin some with that. But also, I know that you've applied yourself to learning this stuff. We've been doing these like bagels and business classes in conjunction with the Chamber of Commerce, and they've been doing other, marketing and business classes, which you've been participating in. And so to that person out there that maybe is the same, where they're like, yeah, I've got this thing that I like to do. It could be a business, but like the businessy part seems sort of intimidating to me. What would you tell them?
That's a good word, intimidating. Yeah. So I never would have imagined myself going to these meetings and these trainings and things like that and learning all about marketing. And I have learned so much. I remember sitting down with my website developer, and I left Panera Bread almost crying because I thought, holy cow, this is so much things and so many analytics and the data. And I'm like, I'm just a second grade teacher, but it has just, these extra trainings and things have just opened up a whole new part of my brain that I didn't even know was there. And with the chamber and the bagels and business and things, they're, just quick trainings and fit in with schedules. And they are just such a blessing to someone who has no background in business, marketing, any of that kind of thing. And it was intimidating at first, but slowly, as this is my second career, slowly I am finding myself really starting to apply some of those things and making it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what are some of the things specifically that you've learned and either have applied or you're starting to apply? These are not like microwave things. Sometimes, it takes a while, but
It does.
what are some of those things?
Just a lot of really like the analytics and trying to bring people in and have them discover you. I had no idea that, Google was such a complex thing,
Right.
it was a search bar, right? Like that's what it did. But being able to pinpoint like who's trying to find you and as a business, and those are the things that I had no idea about, and I'm slowly making sure that I'm doing all the things to help my business become recognizable and being able for people to find it that may not be local or no. Social media has its challenges. Back in March, I lost all of my Facebook and my business for the second time.
Wow.
Make sure those passwords are really hard. Live and learn. But trying to come back from that, having all of these followers and being a newer business, sometimes that social media really makes it hard for newer businesses to get started a little bit. So trying to find those things that you can do to make your business more user friendly per se on the internet, on social media, those kind of things. But I'm learning all of that. I'm learning, you know, so much, so much. And it is a struggle sometimes, you know, it is a little time consuming, but definitely valuable in the
Yeah.
business world.
Several of our guests so far have talked about marketing and just coming to the realization that as a small business owner, marketing is a lot of your job, especially
So
as like a
much.
solopreneur. A big chunk of your time is spent on marketing
Yeah,
and really getting to the point where you're understanding it. Like you're probably not going to be a Google Analytics expert or a Facebook ads expert, but learning enough to be able to be functional
yeah,
so that you are actually using those tools to get customers. And even just the idea of starting with that like customer avatar in mind and
absolutely.
creating who is the person that if every time I'm writing a post or I'm posting a picture, what type of person, can I think of a specific avatar in mind? It's a such an age of photographer, and they maybe have these types of clients and they're in this geography, and I want to reach them to tell them about this opportunity for this great studio that's affordable, that's right here in downtown Marion, that they can come and rent.
Absolutely. Yeah, that avatar is something that I had not thought of until going to a marketing event that the chamber put on. And, I remember having notes, tons of notes about, what my avatar is going to look like. I want to bring in those smaller photographers so that they can succeed as well and be successful, and just try to kind of pinpoint them and to find an affordable place where that they can kind of, have their own place.
Yeah. Well, I really commend you for applying yourself to that. Again, it's so easy for us to just kind of be dismissive and say, well, I'm not good at such and such. But if it's marketing or if it's some chunk that's going to significantly improve your business, there are the resources out there. And especially locally, we are just really blessed with a wealth of resources that are in person, that are down to earth, that are able to be accessed quickly and easily. But if then, of course, beyond that, I mean, there's YouTube and there's TikTok and there's these other ways of learning new things. And I think that it's really no longer an excuse to be able to say, I don't know how to do something, because it's so easy to learn it if you want to.
Absolutely. And it's going to take a little bit of time, I mean, it's not anything that, you're going to be able to sit down in 5 minutes and figure it out. It's definitely something that you have to commit to. And, it will take a little bit of time, but I think, what happens in the end is, you can be successful with that.
Yeah. I'm curious, as you kind of rewind back to when you decided to take the leap to do this studio, did you have a certain time horizon in mind that you were like, well, I want to try to be at this point, or, profitable or making this amount of revenue or something, like in a year or in 2 years? Like what kind of time horizon did you sort of set your sights on in order to just calibrate the way that you were going to work towards this?
So we were hoping that within a year, we would be able to turn a profit on, making sure that we were doing the right things to be successful. We were hoping a year. With our busy lives, things happen. Website, took a little bit longer. Things take longer, things happen in life, and you have to put things to the back burner sometimes. The kid gets sick, so it's kind of been pushed from a year to 2 years, just to see where we could go. The thing with the studio is that we knew that in the summertime and in the spring, when it got warmer, photographers, especially newer, smaller photographers, they're going to want to take photos outside. And
Yeah.
I mean, I can't blame them. I love outside photography. So we knew that, it was when we opened, was in the spring. So we knew it was going to be a little bit slower, and slowly, getting our name out there. And, once people took their own leap to rent the studio, hopefully they would continue to come back. And so, the first winter, once people saw what kind of I was doing in the studio, then they were like, well, then I should do that. So I'm really hoping, it's been pretty steady. Obviously, I would like it to be a little busier.
Of course.
But, I do think that coming into fall and winter, I will see an uptick of rentals because, it's the cold weather. And I'm hoping that, getting that word out again that, hey, make this place your own. You can do what you want to do in here, and, make your sessions, like I said, your own. I mean, photographers have that creativeness, that trying to find, they can definitely use my things in there, but like I want them to be able to know that they can also just, be creative with themselves.
Yeah. It is really cool that it, with a few different props and things, like it can be totally transformed. And some people looking at two sets of photographs like might not even know that they were taken in the same place.
Absolutely.
So it's not like it's a really cookie cutter thing that it's going to be super recognizable. So, but something else you said there, I think is great advice, is just to know that life is going to happen in business, and you've got to be able to adapt and also to leave yourself a little cushion. We encourage people not to, yes, you've got to take a leap, but don't over leverage yourself to the point where if things don't go perfectly, you're going to be in a really bad spot financially or otherwise. So
absolutely.
Really good advice. You mentioned outdoor photography, and I mean, how much do you do downtown as well, outdoors?
A ton. So that is what another awesome part about being downtown is that before I even had the studio, I did a lot of photos downtown, whether it be family, definitely a lot of senior pictures. I'm pretty sure that I know every nook and cranny, alley, good lighting spot in downtown Marion. The other really cool advantage is that there was a bride looking for a photographer that was having her wedding and reception at the Brickyard. Mm-hmm. It was a winter wedding. They chose to do it outside, but I was able to give them that option to go over to the studio, walk over to the studio and get bridal portraits. Mm-hmm. And that was super cool to be able to do that because they didn't have to get in a car. They could just literally walk across the street, walk up the stairs, and got some beautiful photos that the Brickyard lends a beautiful area for photos anyway. But just something different, another whole set of photos that they were able to get. So, but going back to outside photos downtown, it's great because, my seniors, my families, if they need to go to the restroom or they need to change their clothes, the studio's right there to change, go up, change their outfits, come back down, go to another spot. I mean, it's super handy.
Yeah, that does work out so perfectly. And I agree, having, been involved with the Brickyard for all these years. And when we started it, just walking around and really seeing. So, we had Alex on a few weeks ago. We were talking about the Brickyard, and just, since inception, there's been a couple hundred weddings there. And now Urban 501 also doing dozens of weddings a year. And so there's just all of these bridal portraits being taken all around Marion all the time. And people are blown away at all of the places and spaces. You can kind of do some, like grungier looking stuff, or you can do some really clean looking stuff.
Absolutely.
There's murals and public art and just so many backdrops. I mean, it's really endless.
It is endless. That, like I said, I'm pretty sure that I know every little nook and cranny in Marion downtown because there are so many spots. You have different colored brick,
right?
And for a photographer's eye, that's huge because you want those different options based on clothing and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. And
Yeah.
even the alleyways are
Yes.
phenomenal.
Yeah. Alleys, there's churches, historic buildings and all of that. So it is really fun to see the evolution as downtown has become a cool place to go again. Now we're seeing, at homecoming and prom, just droves of people, which is great, to see. It's those micro things in my mind that help to turn the perceptions of downtown Marion that have been long held by some people and now are turning around. But to see that younger generation not only coming here on a regular basis to eat or to shop or to participate in events, but even just small things like that. Hey, we used to go downtown and take our senior pictures or our homecoming pictures, and now we're kind of anchoring them with nostalgia to this place. And so that's super
Absolutely.
cool. And obviously you get to be a part of that. And I never thought about having the studio right there to be able to change, go to the bathroom.
So
That's
convenient.
so handy. Yeah. Because otherwise, I guess you are sort of limited to one outfit, unless you want to try to change your car or something really uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yes.
So that's great. So, as we kind of round the corner here, I mean, what are you excited about for the future of Marion? I mean, I love how you've gotten plugged into the downtown community and the merchant groups and just become friends with the other business owners that are around here. It is a very close-knit group. And, so what are you excited about as you look to the future?
I am so excited to watch things pop up, new businesses. I love relying on those other brains that are kind of maybe more business sound than I am. But I'm just really excited to see like places to eat and bringing in, like Third Thursday, going from being, smaller to like so many people roaming the streets and, seeing all the foot traffic downtown I think it's going to get a lot bigger with, all the new places kind of opening here and there, things to do in the evenings. So you don't have to go out of town, which I think is super exciting, bringing that nightlife kind of to, Marion. So you don't have to go to Columbus or, somewhere bigger, and you can be a little bit closer to home. And, the food obviously is a huge thing. See, I love a good new restaurant,
Yeah.
Like I said, my husband and I are always trying to find places that we can kind of go out and have a date night or whatnot. And just being able to be a part of that, knowing that, my business, as it's a little bit different, it's not a retail store or anything different or anything like that. It is a little bit different, but being able to say, hey, I'm a part of that downtown is really cool.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the way that you've invested yourself in the community and in that process. We've seen it takes 1,000 people and little processes and things to really create a community we can be proud of, that we love ourselves and that is progressing forward in all of these different ways. So it takes everyone working together. So that's so great. And I mean, again, we've done a lot of reflecting back kind of on your taking the leap and hearing your story, which I have loved. What would you tell someone who's contemplating taking the leap into a new venture, having done it yourself?
I think that you really have to have a lot of passion, and you do have to have a little bit of faith that, it is going to take some time possibly to get it, off the ground or things, but knowing you have that support, finding your people, finding the support, finding other business owners that you can kind of bounce ideas off of and collaborate. And, you need to find those people. And, it may not be easy at first, and it could be, a little bit difficult, but, keep on keeping on, I mean, it sounds silly to say that kind of, but, you you're going to have hard times, but you need to just kind of keep the faith that, with everything growing and just, I don't know, lost the thought there, but just, know that you can do it, find those people to help you if you need to, or, and just take that leap and know that if it's something that you're really, really passionate about, you're going to make that difference.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. So it's been a great time here spending with you to hear your story of overcoming what you have and the way that you've used your personal challenge, your family challenge to become the best version of yourself, the way that you and Kevin have really attacked this venture together and have supported each other through, starting with a personal and now on the business side and of course continuing with the personal too. But it's great hearing your story and just what you're bringing to Downtown Marion with your studio. I think that we do hope that this word gets out, and this hopefully some folks listening are going to tell someone that they know. Maybe there's someone local. Maybe there's somebody coming from another community. I know that it's not unusual for photographers to cross county lines or go some distance to set up some of these studio type sessions. Just to find something unique is challenging and something affordable as well. So I mean, if somebody's going now to Columbus or a bigger city and they could come here and have the same amenities at a lower price, obviously that helps them in their business and allows them to do more. So absolutely. We appreciate that you've created that. So tell us a little more. If somebody is their ears are perked up about this opportunity, tell us where the studio is, where they can learn more, book, all of that.
So the studio is located upstairs at 132.5 South Main. It's above Maddie's on Main, one of our favorite stores. And I always like to give them a plug too, because, people are looking for outfits to wear,
Yes.
And she's definitely one that can outfit the family for photos.
Yes.
And so we're located right in center of downtown. If you want to book the studio, you can get a hold of me. I'm on Facebook, Gretchen Jolliff, Days Gone By Photography Studio, Days Gone By Photography. And then the website is also DGB, so Days Gone By Photo.org. No, .com, sorry. And you can book off of there as well.
Okay. Yeah. So people can see some photos that you've taken in studio there and get a little bit of a feel for the space. And yeah, I mean, it is a great space, super adaptable. So I encourage folks to do that. And of course, you're available as well for the sessions that you talked about.
Absolutely.
Seniors, families, newborn, and so forth. And the same contact information applies,
Absolutely.
I'm sure.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
okay. Well, thanks so much once again, Gretchen, for being with me. It's been great hearing your story, and I am looking forward to sharing it with everyone else. Thank you to our listeners for just your continued support of the Main Street Reimagined podcast, the work that we're doing here in Downtown Marion, and just allowing us this medium to get the story out to help and inspire others. So we hope to catch you next time. If this has been helpful, again, it'd mean the world to me if you shared with somebody you know. Thanks so much. Thanks for listening to the Main Street Reimagined podcast. To learn more about Main Street Reimagined, Henry Development Group, or our work in downtown Marion, Ohio, please visit mainstreetreimagined.com. If you want to connect, or if you know someone who we need to interview, shoot us an email at info@mainstreetreimagined.com. Until next time, keep dreaming and don't be afraid to take the leap.